Hi everyone, welcome to the first race and series event sponsored and powered by CMS. It is lunchtime, so feel free to have lunch and relax, have your smoothies. It'd be lovely to see some friendly faces on screen, but we appreciate it might not be suitable or appropriate to have your camera on, and so that's fine. If you just want to introduce yourself in the chat, if you can phonetically spell your name, which will help me, maybe your role, your organization, and maybe what you're hoping to get out today. So it's just a chance. This is our kind of like, was it coffee and croissant or sandwich and thing where we walk around asking you, who are you, what do you do, type thing. So we could just see all of us in that time. This is going to be more intimate than some of our other events because it's aimed at membership. So again, it's been exclusively designed and created for that. We're expecting, I'd suggest, most probably sort of between 50 and 80 attending, all being well. Thank you. So for those that are just coming through, hello there. It is lunchtime, so feel free to eat your lunch and drink your drinks or whatever to make you comfortable. If you can have your cameras on, we'd love to see some faces, but I appreciate also that it might not be suitable or you might not be comfortable for that, and that's fine. We'll start in about 2 minutes, so we've got lots to pack in. In the meantime, if you just want to introduce yourself in the chat, maybe your name, if you can phonetically spell your name for us, your role, your organization. So I see we've got Kati, thank you. Kati, is it Jane? Valentina Wong. Hello, my name is Stephanie. So okay. Hello there. And I can see other people got cameras on. So hello, Mandy, Harold, Carol, I can see Kati on screen as well. Hello. And we've got, hi, Joey, thank you very much. Insights Translation at Wellcome Trust. I understand you're doing quite a lot of work in this space now. So welcome. Shanaz Saida, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. HR Manager based in London, with a global team at Girls Not Brides, the global partnership to end child marriage. So important work. And how we've got Mandy, work for Together for Mental Wellbeing, a mental health charity, and then the people inclusion manager got Anisha, thank you for the phonetic spelling, from Singapore. So we had someone from US yesterday and someone from Singapore today. So global, stretching across the world. And actually, we do have one of our speakers in Barbados. There you are. And we've got Ellen, Equality and Welsh Officer for the Vale of Glamorgan, and Karen Ferguson. And I'm seeing your people partner from Autotrader. So hello. Oh, hi, Sophie, as well. Got Monira Ahmed Chowdhury, community anti-racist. Thank you. It's all going fast now. And anti-racist expert, sorry. And Zoe, support service coordinator at Pregnant Then Screwed. And I think it was Shazia Sheikh. Hopefully I'm saying your names correctly. I do apologize if not. So we've got quite a lot to go today. So what I'm going to do is hand you over to co-founder of Race Equality Matter, Raj Tulsiani. Thank you.
Thanks, Javed. A very big welcome to our first Race and event. We're proud to bring you this in our new series, taking a deeper look at how intersectionality can be improved through the lens of race. It's powered by our new friends at the law firm CMS. And we know we have some CMS colleagues joining us today, so a big shout out to you and thank you for supporting us. This series is more intimate than some of our others, as it's exclusively for members and VIP guests. I'm Raj Tulsiani, Chief Executive of Headhunters and Diversity Consultants Green Park. I'm joined today by Javed, who also helped me co-found Race Equality Matters a few years ago. Before we start, standard bit of housekeeping. To make our events more accessible, when registering, we are asking you for the accessibility arrangements so we can offer what we can to support. We'll try our best to meet your needs. Please bear in mind our limited resources. Closed captioning, however, is enabled in the main session. There's also a link in the chat for capturing during the virtual breakout rooms, which we will share again later. The event is being recorded, except for the breakout sessions, and REM members will be able to have access to it and all of our other events afterwards. During the session, your sound will be auto-disabled to minimize distraction to others, but also do please share your ideas and questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond. The chat will be busy from time to time, particularly after the breakout sessions, so heads up in advance in case you need to switch off sound. If utilizing accessibility tools is an issue for you, there could be a lot of pings. In the next 75 minutes or so, we will learn, explore and collaborate on intersectionality with a specific lens on race and gender. We have quite a lot to share with you. So as always, we'll try and keep things moving at pace so you can get some ideas and support, as well as keeping it focused and interactive. As always with these events, there'll be polls. You'll hear from expert speakers who will share their experience, thoughts and ideas on how your organizations can better address this issue. There'll be 3 collaborative discussion groups and we'll finish sharply at 1:45. By attending and participating, you will receive a resource document with around 50 ideas that we will collate from today's event. However, please do take care. We appreciate that some of the topics we talk about today may be difficult and could even act as a trigger to some people. So just a heads up that we would hope you are able to look after yourself and each other. If, however, though things are a bit tough, take a picture of this slide. There's some good support organisations there. As you may hopefully already know, but for any new people today, Race Equality Matters, our focus is providing people with the tools and resources to make an impact on tackling intersectional improvements in inequality within organisations through the prism of race, and never substituting race for any other proxy. We create and co-create solutions in collaboration with those with lived experience of racial inequality and our broad community of change makers. We also shine the light on other workable solutions that make an impact. Just to briefly introduce our solutions, we'll share links in the chat and post in the post-event email. But of course, what we're known for is Tea Break, The Big Promise, My Name Is, and Safe Space Plus. So all of these are things that you can utilize, but they're also things that you can adapt to your own working environment. We also run Race Equality Week, which is powered by Green Park and Lloyd's of London, which brings together thousands. I think last year it was 5,101 organisations and its employees to unite, collaborate, and keep the momentum going. This will be held on the 3rd and 9th of February next year. So please do put it in your diary because we think not only is that important, but it's a really important time and opportunity for reflection on progress. We also run the 5-day challenge, which we relaunched for Race Equality Week 2023, and we're creating another one for this year. Over 1,500 organisations participated in the 5-day challenge this year. There's only 5 challenges. It takes 5 minutes over 5 days. It's a great 101 starter to get this back on people's agenda for nothing. It includes eye-opening questions, videos, resources, to encourage change, learning and understanding about difference and race equality. And organisations are still implementing it as they feel that it's really helped. So hopefully it will also add some colour to today's events. Our latest solution is called It's Not Micro, and it tackles microaggressions and incivilities in the workplace. Of course, most people here will know that microaggressions have a significant impact, especially on ethnically diverse female colleagues. And some evidence of that, Asian and Black women are 7 times more likely than white women to be confused with someone of the same race and identity. On top of this, 78% of women who face microaggressions code switch at work or adjust the way they look in order to make in an effort to protect themselves. Hence, not only can they be their whole selves, but more importantly, the organisation is saying they're going to create an environment of equality and value. People bringing their whole selves to work are once again maybe having the will to do something, but not the skills to deliver it in a way that affects our lived experience. The impact on well-being of your colleagues retaining and attracting talent is significantly damaged if this is left unchecked. We've shared a link of It's Not Micro in the chat. Please do have a look or cut and paste that. Crucially, all of our solutions focus on making a significant impact, as you can see from the screen. Many of these solutions and resources are available for free. They include how to do it right guides and workshops for members. Everything we do is available to our members and partners, and you can find more information around the solutions section on our website. All of this wouldn't be possible without the people who help Race Equality Matters continue. A big thanks to Green Park, you're welcome, and Lloyds of London, who really help us power Race Equality Week and financially support Race Equality Matters. Alongside, we've got our collaboratory and our long-term vision partner, British Telecom, and partners who help us annually, like Auto Trader, HS2, Amy, Edelman, and Network Rail. And now, of course, CMS, who are the proud sponsors of today's event and this series. We're not for profit and need further funding to keep going. It's often a real struggle. So although we're coming up to 4 years and over 10 million people have used or accessed what we do, we are not in a position to keep offering everything for free. So please do have a look at this donation slide. If you value what we do, particularly at the end of the session, and your organisation won't support it, then you can always make a small but valued donation via this QR link in the chat. So due to popular demand and for those with a budget, we're also able to provide you with some additional support, resources, and access to REM experience, including our REM job board, a Consultancy Lite, a D&I and belonging survey tool that gives you quite a quick way and cheap way of developing a data set, and also Trailblazers, which spotlights forward-thinking organisations that are implementing impactful solutions to drive race equality, and that's independently verified, so of more use than simply buying another badge. Organisational membership gives you access to insights and ideas and then unique data sets, plus state of the nation statistics, exclusive event series, networking opportunities, and more. So if you think your organisation would benefit even more from REM support, we now offer Consultancy Lite, where we can run REM solutions for you in your organisations. T-Break, It's Not Micro on the 5-day challenge, for example. We can train your people to run the solutions in the future, and we can provide more bespoke help to make sure that the effort you put into working with us actually creates real tangible evidence of results. We will send you a link to book an exploratory session if you're interested later on. So before we hear from our first speaker, we're going to do a poll to get a sense check of who's in the room, so you know. So please do answer all the questions and we'll share the results.
Thank you all for completing this. So 15% identifies male, including transgender, male, and 83% female, including transgender women. Question 2. Would you consider, so 41% consider themselves to be an ally, not ethnically diverse, and 56% ethnically diverse or appropriate equivalent. So quite a good mix here. What roles do people play in their organisation, which is question 3. So 20% senior leaders, 12% HR, 23% D&I, 8% race network members, 7% race network leads. We've got 40% which are other, which is brilliant to have such a varied mix within the room today. Question 4. Do you feel seen and heard in your organisation? So 55% say yes and 40% say sometimes. So 55% say yes and 40% say sometimes. So if we look at the working arrangements, so typically always in the office on site 9%, and those that want it is 5%, so not much of a swing there. Majority of time in the office or on site, 13%, that's the situation. And then 7% want to be majority of the time in the office or on site. So smaller numbers there. 50-50 split between the office and on site at home. 21% of people are doing that. And 35% want the split. So obviously a lot more want a split. Majority of time working from home, so currently it's 37%. And of those that want to majority of the time at home, again, it's 37%. So a good mix there. And then typically always working at home, 19%. And those that typically want to work at home is 16%. So overall, pretty close results to what people want. We would look to analyze the different intersectionalities to see if there's a discrepancy there. Question 7. Do you bring your authentic self into work? So 45% saying yes. So 45% saying yes, we could look at it. 55% don't feel they can all the time. But then most of the time 24% and sometimes 27%. Do you know what code switching is? So 72% saying yes, 23% saying no, and we'll explain it later in today's event. Question 9. In the last 12 months, have you code switched at work? So if we exclude those that are not sure what it means, it's about 50-50. So 50% have code switched in the last 12 months. It's half our staff are code switching, which I think is something we have to reflect on. Question 10. Have you faced discrimination or disadvantage at work? And we're looking at different characteristics here. So 11% because of their ethnicity, 12% because of their gender, and 19% because of ethnicity and gender. So that adds up to 43% of people feel discriminated, disadvantaged at work because of their race or gender, and then a further 11% are other, which takes us up to 53% feeling disadvantaged at work or discriminated against. Question 11, do you feel you have a voice in your organisation? So 68%, so quite a high number, I speak and my voice counts. And then 15% I speak but I'm typically ignored, and then 4% I'm typically not able to have a say. Again, we'll dissect by looking at different intersectionalities later. Question 12, does your organisation have clarity and transparency for how to achieve or receive a promotion? So only 28%, which has been consistent, so only 28% saying yes. So that means 72% do not feel there's true clarity or transparency how to achieve or receive a promotion. And we've got a wonderful speaker from CMS, Sophie Brie, speaking about this after. And number 13, how well do you think your organisation supports your mental health and well-being? If we look at a fair amount and a great deal, it's 72%. So organisations are making a greater impact in that, so that's great. Sadly, not enough or not at all is still 6%. So yeah, we will share some resources that for additional support if that's helpful. So thank you all for that.
So I'm going to hand over to Javed to take us through our excellent speakers and the bulk of today's meeting. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Raj. And hello all. So as a nation, we sadly saw the recent treatment of Diane Abbott, MP at Parliament. We'll just share a couple of stats with you first, which identifies intersectionality or the problem. So 70% feel their company's hiring practice do not or barely reflect intersectionality. 66% of workplaces are not successful in creating a sense of community for people with intersectionality. So that's 2/3. If you're intersectional, you don't feel there's a sense of community, and only 16% of companies' leadership understand intersectionality. So this is from some research out there. So that's setting the scene. Next slide, please. If we could just watch this video. quite powerful. So that's a 70-year-old woman who's black. She stood up 46 times and was ignored 46 times, and they were talking about her. I think the way she was treated, not given a voice and ignored, is a simple summary of how race and gender affects so many in the UK. And today's event is going to be looking at this and how we can shine a light and solve this for many of our colleagues. As you can see there, this is a lady that was Britain's first black female MP in 1987, so breaking barriers there, was the only black student at her school, Harrow County School for Girls. Her speech on civil liberties received recognition in 2008 Human Rights Awards. And Diane is the founder of the London Schools and the Black Child Initiative, which aims to raise educational achievement levels amongst black children. She's a role model, she's a change maker and a trailblazer, and was treated like that. The next slide, thanks. Sadly, this is not an isolated case. It takes a black woman 2 months longer than a white woman to find their first job. But once in a job, 79% of Black and South Asian women have faced discrimination in the workplace. Many are changing their demeanor and sometimes even their names just to fit in the workplace, which is an element of code switching. Black disabled women and girls are less likely to be offered equal access tools, training and education. That's multi-intersectionality, and this gets even worse. These statistics and feedback from our networks is why REM needs to shine a light on the double discrimination, the double barriers, and the double disadvantage faced by ethnically diverse women in the workplace and other intersectionalities. So thank you for joining us today. So we're so proud to introduce our first speaker, Sharon Hurley Hall. So Sharon is based in Barbados, and we weren't sure about the internet connection, so we can call this a global event. But we have done a recording of Sharon, but she is here today. So yeah, a big welcome to Sharon. She's the author, educator, and anti-racism activist. She's the co-founder of Mission Equality, working with organizations by building an alternative ecosystem to capitalism that she calls equalisms. I'm sure we hear this word soon. A former journalist and writer, Sharon is also the author of I'm Tired of Racism, True Stories of Existing While Black, where she is looking to share the voice of peers, raising the hurt and impact of being a black woman. When she says these words, I'm tired of the color of my skin being a reason to stop me from my daily rounds of being. In the US, it's a mark of death. I'm tired of the double take when I walk into an interview. And I'm tired of the reduced expectations, the people who think I'm less intelligent. And I quote, trust me, I'm not, she tells me. And I know from speaking to her. No, this book more than establishes all that. So please do look out for it. It's in the link as well. Sharon is also founder and curator-in-chief of Sharon's Anti-Racism newsletter, where she's on a mission to fight racism one article at a time. So again, there's a link so you can access the wonderful resource she does provide. So if we can kindly show her video, that'd be fantastic. Why do you think ethnically diverse women are not heard in an organization?
Generally, as women, we are often socialized to take a little bit of a backseat to, you know, the same qualities that are prized in men are often derided in women. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you speak up too loudly, if you're too sure of yourself, then rather than being seen as assertive, you might be seen as aggressive, for example. And then, of course, that goes double if you are someone of the global majority, ethnically diverse, as you describe it, because there are historical and societal expectations of women in those categories, quote unquote, knowing their place, not being expected to have an opinion, to be intelligent, to be able to voice that opinion. Part of it is socialization as women, and part of it is historical and societal expectations, which mean that you can be overlooked, even if you're coming into a room with the stated goal of sharing your perspective.
How can we dismantle these barriers in the work environment, especially for ethnically diverse women?
In many cases, it starts with paying attention to the dynamics in the room, and making sure that people are included and have the chance to contribute, right? It can be as explicitly as getting people to write down contributions and, you know, putting them in a basket, or, you know, doing a poll in the you know, in the course of the meeting on something that you need to decide. Also noticing and paying attention as a person leading a meeting, you know, when ethnically diverse people are speaking and not being heard, and or being spoken over, so that you have the chance to redress the balance by explicitly calling out the fact that they had made a contribution and that someone else had said it. And then, therefore, by providing that additional validation, making it easier for that person to speak up and be heard in future, and also setting the expectations in terms of the group as a whole, that you're going to notice these things, that it's not okay to just take other people's ideas and present them as your own. So in other words, you're setting some ground rules and boundaries for how people are going to show up in the context of a meeting or a workplace. And also making it easy for people to contribute in other ways outside the context of a meeting. Have a meeting document. Let people read it in advance. Allow people to give feedback by email. Allow people to type feedback in a text, by text, if it's an online meeting. In other words, you broaden the range of inputs to make it possible for a wider variety of people to make their input and therefore have their voice heard in that way. And, you know, once someone has done that, then it becomes easier to call on them in the context of a meeting and say, oh, you said a really great thing in your text response. Would you like to elaborate on it? And give them the chance to, you know, explore that idea on a wider scale.
Would it be beneficial to have a meeting second facilitator the meeting, looking out for these type of issues?
Online meetings where someone's leading the meeting and someone else is making sure that people's questions get addressed and so on. And I see no reason why something like that shouldn't work in a physical meeting.
How do you support an introvert or create the environment where introverts have their say?
It's hard sometimes as an introvert to insert yourself into those conversations. What I have found in later years with so many online spaces is that some of those same accessibility tools and techniques we're talking about help me as an introvert make my contribution and be seen and heard. You know, for me, having the chance to prepare for a meeting in advance so that I have some idea what I'm going to say, I'm not, you know, it's not totally off the cuff, but it's also about the culture of the organization. Many workplaces have extroverted cultures. You know, people are expected to be loud, to contribute, to be over everything, to go out for drinks after work, to hang out together at lunchtime. That's not going to work for an introvert. So the other part of the culture is not to penalize introverts for showing up differently, because it doesn't mean that it's not, their contribution isn't valid. So again, it's a cultural change. It's putting in those processes that allow introverts to make a contribution and to explicitly value those contributions, just as you do the contributions of the very loud and visible people.
Thank you, Sharon. And as I said, she is in the virtual room today, and it's very early in Barbados, so she's sleepyhead, but with us. So good morning to you, Sharon. Thank you for that. So we said this will be interactive and a chance to share and learn from each other. So we'd now like you to go into your first breakout session and share your ideas with each other and what we've just heard. And discussion is, what can organizations do to ensure that ethnic diverse women are listened to and heard? What can our organizations do to ensure that ethnic diverse women are listened to and heard? You're going to go into a breakout group for about 7 minutes. Now, what we said, don't spend time introducing yourself. That'll use the 7 minutes up. So if someone can sort of gently manage and chair it, so give everyone a chance. We appreciate not everyone has everything to say. So listen, contribute as you see fit. Have your cameras on or off, whatever's most comfortable for you. So if you can join the groups, that's fine. We also appreciate some people don't like going into these breakout sessions, and that we understand that's a stay out here. And please contribute to the chat here. But the more they can go into these breakout sessions, the more intimate it will be, and you can learn and hear each other's voices. So what can organizations do to ensure that ethnically diverse women are listened to and heard? So see you in about 7 minutes. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you all. Yeah, really interesting group. I I was with. What would be really helpful now is if in the chat you can just put some thoughts, suggestions, or experiences of what will help answer this question. And then what we do is we will collate it and then share it with you all after. Now, just to let you know, don't worry about typos, spellings. That's all good, and we will anonymize it. So you'll get a lovely little I'm going to use the word pretty document saying this is how we can do it. And I said in my thing, I think the 2 or 3 ideas we said, which actually I could see they'll make a huge difference. And actually a lot of these ways of doing these things, you know, help more not just ethnicity and gender. It can be wider beneficial as well. So we'll give you a sort of like 30, 40 seconds. I said, don't worry about typos, do it as bullets as simple as possible. We will tidy it all up and we will anonymize it. Okay, once you finish that off, we'll move on with the event. The next slide, please, Sam. So a bit of a reality check. Did you know that 44% of respondents say their company's hiring practice do not reflect an understanding of intersectionality? Only 13% said their workplace created a sense of community for people with intersectional identities. And then 75% of ethnically diverse women have changed their demeanor to be more approachable and friendly during a job interview in an attempt to counteract negative set. So this is about the code switching. So 75% have changed how they are in that interview to be more approachable and friendly because they know they need that to get the job. Okay, next slide, please. If we could just show this video to explain code switching.
I started taking the bass out of my voice, so I was less intimidating. Thank you, for example. That would become, I'm most grateful. Little subtle things.
That's code switching. Code switching is a term widely used to describe when somebody changes their accent, tone of voice, and mannerisms depending on what space they're in. We all do it, but for many Black people working or studying in white majority environments, it's used for survival.
The reality is I'm a product of my environment, which is I grew up in East London, I eat West Indian food, I often operate in West Indian circles, and those are all factors that do not easily fit into a corporate environment.
For me being a Black babe, it comes with an extra pressure, a pressure that you somewhat have to adhere to fit in. I did adhere for about a year, and then I just couldn't do it.
I would definitely say that there were numerous occasions where I had to code switch. I mean, I was at Cambridge, for goodness sake. I'm this girl coming from East London. I know it is a bit of a stereotype because, you know, people speak very, very differently. There are people who are very well spoken, but for the most part, you know, we use a lot of colloquialisms, a lot of slang. I knew that if I say things in a particular way, people are not going to understand me.
For most, code switching and adapting to your environment is a useful way to get ahead in the workplace. But could a world where workplaces fully allow people to be themselves ever exist?
As a Black person, as a Black woman, we have a history of bending and adjusting to appease others.
The reality is for someone like myself who entered the profession to represent young Black men who I sometimes feel are not given a fair opportunity. If code switching allowed me to be in that position to represent those type of people, then it is what it is.
The whole code switching thing, of course, I would love to know that I didn't have to code switch at any point. But I also recognize that not everyone comes from where I come from. Not everybody has the same experience as me. Not everybody shares the same background as me. And so we have to be accommodating to each other.
I am an absolute advocate for being yourself. Like, be you authentically. There is only one you, and that is your superpower. There is no duplicate. No one can do it like you. Even if you had a twin, no one can do it. No one can say it like you. No one can be you. And that's what makes you so unique.
Thank you for that. So I'm now delighted to welcome our next speaker, Shivani Uberoi, Inclusion Leader at England and Wales Cricket Board. Shivani unfortunately can't be here today, so again, we have recorded her interview. Shivani's purpose is to create workplaces where everyone can be themselves and thrive, and we'll hear from her about code switching in a sec. A squiggly career, so going from qualifying as a chartered accountant at PwC to driving gender equality and inclusion in workplaces and wider society. She's also a TEDx speaker. She's got a brilliant video out there, and a sought-after DEI expert appearing on podcasts and regularly featured across the media. She's the founder of the Wallflower Academy, with 10 years experience running EDI inclusion programs. Her TEDx talk is titled How Fitting In Will Screw You Up. And she says insights on how we all seek belonging, which can lead to covering up in workplaces and impacts on our well-being. She's passionate about inspiring and empowering others to make the world of workplaces more inclusive for everyone. If we can play her video, that'd be great. Thank you. What advice would you give to women who are code switching at work?
Try and notice when you're doing it. Often we normalize when we're code switching, so we won't realize maybe the extent of it. So be more aware, notice how you're doing it, what parts of yourself are you maybe suppressing, what parts of yourself are you maybe not showcasing, and then really reflect on like why. Is it in specific meeting rooms? Is it in with specific people? And what is it about those meeting rooms, about those people? Is it because you're trying to impress them? You don't think they're going to think you're good enough? Is it because you're trying to get a promotion? Like really dig into all of those questions, because then you can understand how often you're doing it, why you're doing it, and then ask yourself, like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth suppressing who you really are for those reasons? Find your people, because trust me, you are not the only one. And often we feel like we're the only one when we're in a meeting room and we think we're the only one who needs to try and fit in. But I guarantee you there'll be other people in that room who are doing exactly the same thing as you. But also there's going to be people just like you in other meeting rooms across your organization probably who are also doing that. So find your community, find your people, whether that be through employee network groups or networking. And it can be really hard to be vulnerable, but when you are and you connect with those people, you'll realize that actually most of us are code switching through the day. And actually when you share your stories, it gives you that confidence that maybe you don't need to do it. And then hopefully you can go back into those rooms and have a bit more courage to be yourself.
How did code switching affect you?
Main way that it impacted me was my mental health. I think it really impacted my self-esteem and my self-confidence, because I was really suppressing who I really was. And even when I was successful in the workplace, it was through not really being me or not wholly being me. So that really impacted my self-confidence, where I started to think that I wasn't good enough in who I really am. But also just the sheer exhaustion of code switching, the mental energy that it would take, all of that compounded like the mental health impact. So yeah, it became really tiring. And so that's when I started to realize that actually maybe this isn't the way forward.
What can organizations do to help people having to avoid code switching?
I think there's a lot organizations can do in this space. I think the main thing is they need to be intentional about it. They need to realize that it is happening. It is happening in their organizations, because it's happening in all organizations, and you won't often see it because essentially they're masking and you won't know that they're masking. So know that it's happening and be intentional. So some of the things that can work is role modeling, where senior leaders showcase their vulnerabilities, talk about their mistakes, their failures, their differences. So really when people can see other people, especially senior leaders in power, in places of influence, showcasing their vulnerabilities, that will give confidence to other people to also do it. Really try and create safe spaces where people can be themselves, where, you know, difference is celebrated, where if somebody has a different opinion, it's not ridiculed, and you're really encouraging, and it's a really approachable place where people can share differences. And also create those communities and those safe spaces where people can be themselves. Ideally, people can be themselves in every room they walk into, but we know that's not the case. So actually those employee network groups, those community groups can be really powerful, and storytelling through either the role models or bringing in external speakers can also really help create that culture where we celebrate differences and we get inspired from other people's stories. So yeah, storytelling can be really powerful in this space as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Shivani. She did it just after her holiday, so we do appreciate that. So it's now time for our second breakout session, so you can share more ideas with each other. So this is, what can organizations do to ensure that ethnically diverse women don't have to code switch? So what can our organizations do to ensure that ethnically diverse women don't have to code switch? So you're going to this groups, similar thing, 6 or 7 minutes. If you can just share ideas and thoughts, and then we'll see you back then. the more that can go in there, the great. If in the meantime you stay out here, please do add something to the chat. Thank you all. Oh, welcome back all. So yeah, really fantastic stuff in our group, and actually run out of time, so we do appreciate so much to say, but really interesting. But again, can we all then just go into the chat now and write our thoughts and comments? What can organizations do to ensure ethnically diverse women don't have to code switch? And I appreciate this helps so many other people as well. So if I'll give you like another 30-40 seconds. Don't worry about typos, don't worry about spellings. Bullet point it however you want to do. We'll tidy it all up, and we will anonymize it. So we've got things, policies such as dress code. Yeah, dress code. We talk about dress in our one. I think we've got over 30 ideas in the last one, so let's try and beat it this time. Not that I'm competitive. What was it in our group was the thing about organizations saying they're welcoming it versus are you able to be your true self? There's a huge line there, I'd suggest. That's it. Thanks for coming through. And I said, what we'll do is we'll anonymize it and share it all with you for contributing to this. So yeah, so we'll hear kind of in effect what happened in all the other groups. Fantastic. So if we can have the next slide, please, Sam, while people finish that off. Thank you. So another reality check as we go into our final speaker. 85% have no clarity and transparency how to achieve a promotion. I think it's quite similar just now. So no transparency and lack of clarity in how to achieve promotion. 64% of Black and South Asian women who are managers state their ethnicity has impacted on their progression. So that's 64%. And 30% of Black and South Asian women feel they need to work harder to reach their managerial position than others. So yeah, no surprising in them stats, but this is a reality check. And that's why we're going on to our final speaker. I'm delighted to introduce Sophie Bray from CMS, who are funding and sponsoring this series. So a huge thank you from them. And they started to do some great work ensuring transparency in the promotion process. It's a journey, but they're going to share some of it with us. Sophie, if you can unmute yourself. Sophie is the head of diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging at the international law firm CMS, who, as I said, are supporting this series. Working alongside the firm's senior leadership team, Sophie is responsible for delivering the firm's DEIB agenda across its international platform, driving change at a global level. So you're very diverse in that sense, in more ways than one. Since taking over the reins of the DEIB function, Sophie has been instrumental in bringing about significant culture change across the firm. CMS has been recognized and celebrated externally by a number of organizations for its progress and was named amongst the UK's best law firms for D&I. Sophie is committed to creating an inclusive culture at CMS and driving change at a broader industry level. A recent poll carried out by REM showed that only 28% feel that there was clarity and transparency received in promotion. Only 28% feel there is. So if we can have a spotlight into Sophie. Hello and welcome. Why did you go about tackling the issue of transparency in the promotion process?
Hi, Javed. Thank you for having me. Yes, so, I mean, as a regulated law firm, we have to report on our diversity makeup to the Solicitors Regulation Authority. And so, although we use data regularly to understand the makeup of the firm, it really comes to our attention that we have some underrepresented group. And so, in order to increase representation, we use data analysis on retention, promotion rates, and both from a research perspective outside of our law firm, but also through engagement surveys and anecdotal feedback, we got to realize and understand that people don't really know what it takes to be promoted. And so in order to be able to increase representation in the most senior levels of the organization, it's critical that we support people to understand, well, what is the career path for them and how to get there.
Brilliant, thank you. So you've identified the challenge and the issue or the opportunity. So what have you been doing about it?
So first and foremost is internally being very clear on what good looks like, because having conversation with senior leadership, team leaders, the HR functions, we also came to realize like, oh, actually, are we ourselves clear on what we are expecting from our people, what we are expecting in terms of accomplishments, but also behaviors and that type of thing. So it's, as an organization, being very clear yourself And then when you have those clear attributes, deliverables, it's about sharing that for with your people. So communicating those with your talent, having also conversations around the talent pipeline and succession planning, and also career conversations with your people. So once you're clear on what it looks like, you communicate to your people, and you also have conversations with them to understand what their ambitions, career goals are.
That's pretty big. And that openness and transparency is quite crucial, and sharing. So quite often organizations get data, but it's not shared. So I think what you're sharing is fantastic. So thank you. So I know it's early days, but what are you noticing as a result of this process?
Yes, so as you said, it's early days. So to see a change in terms of demographic and levels of representations, it's a bit soon. What we see though is different conversations are happening between leaders, with the HR business partners, when they are talking about their talent pipeline. There's very different conversations, and there's also a healthy challenge. So managing each other and managers when they're saying, oh, she's not ready, or yes, let's push forward and wait, or I don't think he's got what it takes. Well, tell me more. Remember, that's the checklist, that's the criteria. So what's missing, and what should we be putting in place around that specific individual to support them, so actually they tick all those boxes and we can promote them.
I think that openness in being able to challenge or question, the kind of like is quite powerful. And I think that's going back to earlier, that shows a culture that we're willing to listen and learn from each other. So that's fantastic. So final question, what's your top tip for organizations looking to initiate this change?
I mean, like everything else in that space, it's senior buy-in. If you don't have your senior leaders who understand the need for it, the challenge and the need for it, then you're not going to get the support and the power behind what you're trying to achieve. So it's their buy-in, that's their support, because you're looking at changing processes possibly and practices, but also it's a cultural shift. So if you don't have senior buy-in, you're not going to go very far.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sophie Brie. Much appreciated. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a real important stuff that we all start looking at this going forward. So it's shocking. So how can we get promoted if we don't know the routes? So so thank you for raising it as a topic. Fantastic, thank you. So we're going to go to our final breakout, so where we can all discuss this. So what can organizations do to ensure there is clarity and transparency in the promotion process? So obviously Sophie provided lots of tips, but again, to share amongst yourselves, what can organizations do to ensure clarity and transparency in the promotion process? I'm conscious of time, so we'll allow 5 minutes for this one. That'd be great. So if you can all go there, and we'll see you back out soon. Thank you. Welcome back. I know, and I'm sorry it's so quick. We're trying to get so much in, but we can share this with you all. So again, some great stuff in our group. So if you can just then put your thoughts and suggestions into the chat. Again, we'll collate it. This is quite a really picking up what Sophie said, and also in my group, there's really good things you've put together. This will really help organizations make that transparency thing. And what was really coming across was the questioning and challenging decisions or processes. We've got to have this culture that we're encouraging it. So I'll let everyone do that. And then what we'd like to do, really importantly, is a final poll, which is actually just see what was working in this event, what else can we do for you in the future. Sam, if we let people finish their chat at the moment. And what future events would be of interest to you? Yeah. So, what can organizations do to ensure clarity and transparency, promotion process, and then we go into a final poll and also what's coming up next. For those that are keen, and I see some of you have been to the hairdresser and the beauticians, we'll do a little photos at the end if anyone would like to pay on a group photo where we can just promote the event. It's just something to amplify the importance of this subject matter. But obviously, if you don't want to be in the photo, have your camera off. We understand. If we could launch a poll now, that'd be great. Thank you, Sam. So thank you all for filling out poll 2. So 89% of you would recommend today's event. 11% not sure. We'd love to hear from you. We do appreciate that the breakouts are quite quick. And no one's saying no, they wouldn't recommend it. But we would always like to find out, for those that aren't sure, how we can make it more impactful for you. Question 2, did you learn anything new today? So 84% of you learned something new today. So that's, huge percentage. So thank you to us wonderful speakers, and also to each of you in the breakout sessions. Did you learn and hear things you wouldn't normally have access to? So that's 79%. So again, there's a lot of fresh stuff here today for most people. So 79%, which is fantastic percentage. Question 4, did you hear or learn anything that you will use? So 67% saying yes, and 21% if they had the authority. So that's 88% have learnt or heard something they will use. So again, thank you to the speakers and each of you for sharing your thoughts and ideas in a breakout. Question 5, do you have a greater understanding of how to be more able to have a voice? So 67% saying yes, you now have a greater understanding to have a voice in your organisation. And then, do you have a great understanding of how you can reduce the need to code switch? So 68% saying yes, and 32% not sure or no, but 68% having a great understanding of how to reduce the need to code switch is great. Question 7, do you have a greater understanding of how you can help ensure all other colleagues have a voice? Just 86% of you do think so, which is great. We need to be there to support each other to make sure we are all having a voice and being heard. Question 8, do you have greater understanding of how you can help people reduce the need to code switch? So 79%, so nearly 80% of you feel you have a greater understanding of how you can help others need to code switch. So this is going to help us change our organizations and cultures. Question 9, do you feel it's possible for your organization to have greater clarity and more transparency in its promotion process? So do you feel it's possible for your organization to have greater clarity and more transparency in its promotion process? So 77% saying yes. So from what you've heard today, it's possible for our organizations to do that. And I think it was 72% of us don't think it's as truly transparent and clear as we need it to be. Question 10, what topics would you be interested in the future Race And series? So as you can see on screen, so the highest is 61% neurodiversity, 58% social mobility, and then we've got 46% disability, 49% of you want more on gender, 56% on mental health, so and other topics there. So thank you all for that. Does your organization address intersectionality? So 40% of you think yes. So that's leaving 6% saying not sure or no. So only 40% think your organization does address intersectionality. And we'd like to know, would you pay for mentor support to help deliver a race equality mentor solution? That's 14% of you. Your personal development, 18%, so 32%. And there's 35% of you would pay for or mentoring support for other needs or reasons. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. So really good stuff. I said we'll share the rest of the results with you afterwards, but thank you all for doing that. Yeah, we've got most of you on that, so we'll take that now. So yeah, Raj, thank you. Back to you.
Great, thanks. So here are ways we can support. Please do get in touch. Our next event in the Race And series looks at race and neurodiversity. This is on the 8th of October. In the meantime, and before the summer break, we will have our very first live tea break event with a focus on microaggressions versus banter. Thank you very much to our partners, especially CMS, whose support has made this possible, and to our wonderful speakers, Sharon Hurley-Hall, Shivani Uberoy, and my favourite, Sophie Bray. If you value what you've learned, and I hope that 85% of you have learned something today, and you feel you can support, any donation would be gratefully appreciated. Again, we know that some of the topics discussed today may have been difficult, so please do look after yourselves and each other. And we do hope that by talking about these topics, we're able to not only bring to the forefront some important topics within organisations, but also by sharing what's working elsewhere through the speakers and through the website, we can help organisations deliver on the promises they've already made around race equality. And remember, we're not just a single identity, a man or a woman, black or disabled. We're all people with talent. And although talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. So we're not one-dimensional, and we recognise that none of you are as well. So thank you for your support today. Javed and team, thank you for putting on a good event. We look forward to helping and working with you in the future. Thank you.